Hello, everybody. My name is Rodgon. I am a designer, artist, teacher, mentor, and today we will be drawing together. So, welcome to all our YouTube people. We are going to be having our chat going at the same time. So, feel free to ask questions. Feel free to just in general be active, and I'll be more than happy to answer your guys' questions if I can. So, today we are going to talk about composition. And what is composition? Well, it's gonna be a very relative term, depending on like who you talk to and what like. So a lot of people just assume that composition is just thinking about the things and how you lay them out on a plane, right? So it's like, oh, okay, and then there's like the little like weird like thing that people do and shit like that, like oh, composition in thirds and all that stuff. So that's what we're gonna talk about today. How to make your compositions a little bit more interesting, right? So a composition doesn't have to be something that goes into a whole like piece of artwork. Whenever you're even drawing your characters, right? Let's say we just have average Stan right here. Average Stan is just chilling like a villain, right? So in order to make even just a simple drawing like Stan here even more appealing, we can throw some elements of design into our drawings. Let's just finish Stan off first. Stan is feeling mighty confident today. So we have Stan. Hello, Stan. Stan is your average cartoon character. Your average drawing, nothing very detailed, nothing very like refined. It's just an average dude, right? He's even gonna have his arms tucked in and everything. So nothing special about him. Now, how do we make something that's just an average sketch look a little bit better? Let's say that we like wanted to tell a minuscule story with Stan right here, right? But we don't really know what to do. We don't really know what to say. So let's just start adding to his environment and see what we can come up with when it comes down to composition. We will base everything off of a square or rectangle. So if we have Stan right there sitting right there, he is obviously the main focal point at this point because there's nothing else on the page. Now, in order to be able to tell a story, there has to be elements within this story to be able to, let you know what's going on. Let's take just a visual representation of what we're looking at right now, and then let's see what we can come up with based on that. So this character is looking a little bit either perplexed or surprised or like, like hey, 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 like flirty or something. And he is smiling, so that means that he's either like a bully or he's like going to do something mischievous. And he's looking in this direction. So if we make anything in this direction, now it's interacting with that element. Right? Now our composition went from just a basic character to now this L-shaped direction of focus. So it starts off with your body or in your design leading onto the facial, which facials are normally your focal points if there's nothing else on the scene that's calling more attention. So facial expression, direction. So your composition in this case right now, up until this point, it's just literally a little L, right? Now, whatever we do with this guy right here, let's say that it's like just like a little cute little like animal. Nothing too complex. Just a little cute little cat or something. Right? Let's say we have just a cute little kitty that's looking at him now. Now, I have to understand what I want to do with the body of the kitten so that it doesn't throw the composition off. So, one things I would avoid any lines that, for example, if we draw his body, right? We're going to draw his body, maybe like all chubby and like cute. There you go. And he's going to be on a tree branch or something of the sorts. Because I want my eye to stay within these shapes. I want my eye to flow around my picture over and over. So now that I have this little guy's body, now I can use his tail to direct all my visual lines back inside the picture. Right? And that could be like wrapping this around, going out, and then it comes back into the frame. You know, whatever you need to do to get this flow back into your picture. Now, if this tail was pointing out this way, it would still look okay, but at this point you're leading your eye away from your composition. So you don't want to do that, right? You don't want to accidentally just lead people off the page. So composition plays like a role in those little situations right there. And there's little rules that you can keep like in mind, but more than anything, it's more design principles than drawing principles. So it's going to just be something that you like and enjoy, and it's going to be very subjective to like different people's point of view. So there isn't like a composition that is better, it's just a different composition. Do you know what I mean? I hope you guys understand. Like compositions mostly are based more on like the design principles of what's popular at the point, like moment, stuff like that. But there's some concepts of it that just make sense, and therefore they became rules, right? So in this case, we have a flow. Now, in order to close that gap, we are going to generate little blades of grass that are going to lead back to our original dude. Now, if this is not the case of like if this was more like animation or something like that, then each one of these elements would have its own reason for interacting with the environment. But when you're just drawing a simple illustration where you want to have a character be the main focal point, even making the blades of grass lean a little bit more towards the person is obviously going to make that person seem like they're the most important part. We can do that with plants, right? In this case, everything could be pointing just this direction. Even the rays of sunlight could be used for composition's sake. Everything could be just creating this guy into a massive focal point. And that's more so like the way that we have to see composition when it comes down to our cartoons and our design. Now, storyboarding is a fantastic use of a person that knows how to storyboard, right? Like if you can tell a story by really simply drawing really gestural things, and even the same pose can just be really, really different just by simply changing a couple elements. Like here, it's like maybe somebody that does not know what they're gonna get for lunch. And in this case, it's somebody that's like manically trying to like desperately flee for their lives. Ah! So storyboard artists have to think about so many different things. Like they have to think about the angles of the room, they have to think about the positioning of their characters, their camera angles, their lighting, focal points, distance. You know, they have to account, like storyboard artists and animators are stupidly talented. Okay? Like they are some of the most complete artists in there. Like say whatever you want about fine artists and like realistic, hyper realistic painters and shit like that. But ask them to tell a story through, you know, visual cues through a script and see how quickly they like realize that that shit's fucking hard. Right? And that comes down to like angles and like things that you have to like think about are contrasting points. Right? If you're like doing like an Indiana Jones thing. But yeah, like composition is going to play a big role in this. Making sure that your story flows from one element to the other could be as simple as just generating a very similar object within both elements. So this is also going to like go a little bit into like keeping tabs on the things like God, what is the flow? Would that be like that? Would that be it? Flow, like continuation, continuity. Okay. Well, anyways, let's say that I want these two elements to be the same, for, like the same character, right? All I gotta do is add like a little ridiculous like little prop to it or something that's going to go from one to the other, and then I can literally tell a story by just no grr, right? It's very simple. For example, let's say that this guy right here, right? And we wanted to come up with the next frame for this story. So I would take an element from this page. Let's say in this case, we have his hair, or it could be the ears. And then I just add the ears somewhere. Right? So now the ear is there. So that means this is probably like a shot from behind. And now I can see the character looking at my dude. Right? And then we can add elements like the little tree branch and little blades of grass or the tree or whatever. So the next element that's going to be in the shot. So I have to tell a story by continually drawing little elements of the previous one in the next. In this case scenario, I'd probably add like a bush right here or something so that I could add that bush in the back. And then I would probably add whatever element or story element that would be introduced next into the scene. In this case, maybe let's make somebody like standing up. And then you go and then you take again to get the next frame. If you want to have continuation, you take an element from here. Let's say in this case, I don't know, this tree. So we'll have this tree in the back, right? And then we have to add this guy, and then the little animal is going to be on the branch. So this is the reason that we learn perspective as artists. It's so that we can do stuff like this, right? Flips around. and it's gonna be a person again in the foreground with some awesome pigtails or something. And you'll see their hair. But as you can see, you start going around and creating elements that will, first of all, encirculate things within your frame. Even in this case scenario, right? It's leading towards the next frame. So if you normally either have to direct the attention away so that you can cut to a next thing, and it comes with a bunch of little like rules from film and from like design and graphic design and illustration and like just general concepts of contrast and drawing. So it is a very in-depth theme. Like honestly, it's a, now that I'm like trying to like explain it, I can see how like difficulty like it could be to actually do that. Let's see, hold on, let me go over to here. I like this guy. He is so amazing. Oh, Jessica W. Hi, Rod. Hey, how's it going? Hi. Mishta, I'm here. Yay, Emily Arts, I made it. Hey, Chris Rock. Hey, Rod, sketch blogger. Hello, everybody. Red Eye Artist. Hi, everybody. I like this guy. He's so amazing. Oh, thank you, man. Dr. C, always great to see you. Thumbs up him. Yeah, give me some love. Show me some love. If you guys like what I do so far and you guys want to help support, share the channel. Let me zoom in for you guys here on TikTok because you guys are like all far away. So like this video, don't like the video. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter. I'm just gonna draw anyways. So yeah, I'll do my whole spiel and things later on. So composition, essentially, the way that I like to think about it is that you have to keep things balanced, right? So if you have a composition that goes all the way around, that's awesome. And that could be like trees, that could be buildings, that could be anything that literally like leads you to like a little focal point or something in the middle. So your composition could just be things like that, right? Everything keeps flowing, the clouds, the perspective on the buildings could be a little distorted, so you can have that. And then you end up with everything in circulating and creating like a little spiral inside. So this type of composition is just pew 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 spirally. Okay. The next compositions that I like to do is pretty much evenly split compositions in which you have like something very contrasty from one side to the other. It could be something like beaches. There's like a screaming child outside, like they're crying bloody murder. Jesus. Something like water and stuff like that. Water in the sky. Compositions like this are really fun. You angle them a little bit and then you end up with something much, much cooler. Now, whenever you do like little backgrounds and stuff like that, make sure that you have a background. Like, oh my God. Jesus Christ. The kid is crying his eyes out. If you want to add even more element of story, you can always add a foreground element. And that's going to be the closest thing to the camera, therefore creating a shadow, like a silhouette, right? And then you can have elements in the middle ground, like boats and stuff like that. But the basic parts of a composition, especially if you're going to be using it for like drawing a background or stuff like that, is to have a foreground, In this case, it's this guy. In this case, it could be like branches, trees, whatever. Okay, a foreground, a middle ground. In this case would be our little character right here, and in this case it would be the water, and then a background. The background in this case would be the sun, the sky. In this case it would be the trees and the sky in the back as well. Okay, so as long as you have those three parts to your drawing, you're gonna have a really nice composition. I'm not gonna take any live requests. I'm still trying to wrap my head around composition. I like your stuff too. Aw, yay! You guys getting together, woohoo! And like talk about your art. I encourage that. All right, so when it comes down to drawing, like let's say a quick scene. Let's say we want to just draw like a quick little pinup right here, right? And that sounds like something fun to do. We'll dictate that this is the area that is going to be roughly what we're going to be drawing. Let me angle this a little bit more. There we go. That looks about right. Okay, cool. So let's say that we have a poster and we want to make a really cool little like pinup for Rod Gone Art Academy. I don't know. So the first thing that I'm going to try to do is what type of flow do I want for my banner? Do I want it to be more... Oh, hold on. Video. Let me just center this for my YouTubes. And then angle this shit for TikTok. Since the YouTube one is the priority, it does end up being on the channel forever, so I need to make sure that I get a good angle for that one. All right, so let's say that we want a good composition for this guy. So we got to decide on what type of composition we are going to want. In this case, we're going to adopt a little bit of graphic design work, and we're going to adopt a little bit of illustration work and a little bit of flow. So we're going to have to actually pay attention to how pretty it looks on the page before we actually go in and do any detail work. Now, if we're going to be doing a pinup, maybe we do one where like she's looking over her shoulder or something, right? So that means that it's gonna be mostly on this side of the page and maybe gonna be angling into this side. So if I want to keep a balanced shape, maybe like a shape like a little envelope would not be a bad idea. It keeps this big area as a focal point, and then I can add all the detail and stuff like that on the sides, which works kind of nicely for a banner because now I can put all my information right here. Cool. So now that I have my basic like composition that I want to do, now it's a matter of creating the elements that are going to make that look really cool. And in this case, we decided to go with a little pinup, so it's going to involve drawing a face. And we talked about heads a lot yesterday, so if you guys want to learn how to draw heads and faces better, I highly suggest that you guys go watch that video. It's a long video, so you guys might have a lot of content to watch for a while. Okay, so we talked about the jaw yesterday too, right? So whenever you tuck your jaw into your face, not right here. Whenever you tuck your jaw into your face, since your jaw is wider than your neck, it tucks in around it. It like wraps around your neck. So it goes whoop, 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 whoop. Right? So that little gap that you get in the front tucks into your neck, and then that's pretty much it. Like you end up with a tucked in neck like that. So yes, it doesn't like curve back or anything or bunch up all that much. It's literally just a little, and then normally that's how you get that little pouch that's like underneath your chin. Whenever you like tuck in your like chin and you're like smiling or taking a selfie, and it's like you get that little secondary pouch. on your neck. It's because you're scrunching your skin from underneath your chin and your neck. So therefore you get those little pouches. So taking that into consideration, as we draw our pinup, that means that my jaw has to be around here because my skull and my eye socket is going to be around there. I'm not basing anything off style yet. Right now it's just my basic structure, and I'm trying to see what I can do to make that look really appealing. So if I wanted to interact with the scene, I could have my shoulder and my elbow and stuff like that. Make it look like she's just like angling her arm down. Changing the direction of the wrist so that I can get a more interesting hand pose. Seems good. In this angle, it's my shoulder and my bicep is inside. So this line right here would overlap first. Let's see. Maybe she's gonna be pulling on her shirt. So if this is the shoulder, that means that my rib cage is really close by, because the tip of the shoulder is normally the top of the collarbone. And if my other shoulder is over here, then that's the other tip of my collarbone. And then it creates like this V shape, right? So now I know where my collarbone is. My collarbone is just the top part of my rib cage. So my rib cage now has to come down from that angle. And that's my other shoulder. So my rib cage has to be around here. Now my rib cage and my pelvis are very easily to draw if you just draw a little beanbag. Right? If you draw a little beanbag with the rib cage being the upper part of the little bend and the lower part being just broken down into like giving the beanbag underwear, now you have your hip bones and your, hips. You also have the middle of your rib cage that leads down to your abs and down to the middle where your crotch is going to go. And from there, we can, since we drew underwear, we know where our leg parts are for our character. So we can just bring our hips out as much as you want. In this case, let's make her really twisting her body. Okay. So now we have like a cool body twist thing going on. And then we have, let's make like her boobs and stuff like that. And then if we have this be the t-shirt, and the tension from the t-shirt part would create a little bit of tension from the bigger points of contact, which would be the roundness of the breasts. We'll create some overlap so that it looks like it's getting pulled there. We'll give a sleeve to this side. We won't give it to this side though. And then we go into a little bit of styling for the face. So we know where our eye sockets and our nose canal are going to be. So we already know where everything's supposed to be. We just get to choose what type of styling we are going to give it. So I'm going to give my nose a little bit of a button nose. Let's see. Eyebrows. Actually, let's do the eyeballs first. The eyeball. And then on this eyeball, I'm going to draw my eyelids however I want them. I want this girl to look a little bit sensual. So I'm gonna draw my eyelids around my eyeball. And then fill in my eyeball, which is my eyelid at this point. I'm noticing that this jaw thing, here at the jaw, is protruding a little bit too much. So I'm gonna bring that in because it's only supposed to be my cheekbone. Right? That's only supposed to be that distance that it comes out, it's my cheekbone. So if it's too big, then it's just not gonna look right. Then I'm gonna draw my lips. The upper part of my lip, my chin, and then all this could be here. And I'll make it my character, Vicky. Ta-da! So that's how you kind of go about creating a composition. Then I would put like rod. Oh my god, people keep calling. Rod, gun, blah blah blah. The artist. And then at this point, I already have the points of composition, so I could just make sure to add color here, and color here, do whatever else little designs I want to do, just fill in the space somehow, you know. And then as long as none of the things that I went out to design is obstructed, I would consider this a good composition. Now, if something like this needed to be exactly within those borders of composition, you would just shift the design to fit what you need. So in this case, if we needed to fit that design more in that little parallel, I would just change the legs and the body to turn like that, creating that exact element. And then you could do like a little leg tattoo or whatever. So having the ability to draw anatomy gives you the ability to do changes like that really easy. The ability to draw in perspective gives you the ability to come up with the characters posing a lot better. And your ability to draw with composition is going to make all those designs look really cool. So there's literally like the drawback is very minimal when it comes down to what you're going to be learning. So something like that would be how I would approach if I had to make a banner for myself. It would be like pinups. And then this would be like my little banner that I would have at like QR code for buy me or follow me. information, any additional stuff that I would want to have would probably go there. And then right here, I would probably have something or other, like hashtag or. But that would be how you would approach tackling composition-based piece if you wanted to do something promotional for yourself, like that. That is going to be the best use of your design work when it comes down to like applying it to things that matter to you. Like, we need to get used to the idea of every time you learn something new, you need to apply that to something that benefits you. Right? That is one thing that I want you guys to all get out of this. I want you guys to all go back and go to your designs and, you know, pay attention to those things. Are you doing different examples of composition? Yeah, that's what we've been doing so far. And talking a little bit about flow and continuity and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm not the best teacher for composition because I haven't really done much in the matter of like design work like that. But I am very familiar with what makes a decent composition, and it normally falls down to two things. One, clear focal points. If you have a clear focal point in a piece, then I have no doubt that that is a successful composition. Now, if you have a lot of things in the piece, being able to create that one focal point becomes trickier and trickier, right? So you have to, even when you start adding foreground elements and background elements and changing the angles and stuff like that, when you start doing things like this and you start adding much more, making sure that that one focal point you had is still the focal point of the piece is very, very important. So focal points are achieved through like a bunch of different ways. You could have a focal point through contrast, which means that just like make it stand out a lot. Let me see if I can. I do that a lot with my sketches. So, for example, the reason that I do contrasting shapes like this and I paint them with watercolor around them is so that I can enhance the focal direction for that one little piece. Now, the difference between seeing a sketch like that and seeing a sketch like this should be making it pretty clear why the color is there. It's to create a focal point to each individual thing instead of making it a pattern, right? It becomes more of a targeted focal point. So the whole idea behind focal point composition is to make sure that your focal point that you have doesn't get messed up. So you always want everything to focus on that guy or your focal point. You can do this through lighting, you can do this through color, you can do this through like line work, like by simply making sketchier line work, you create a focal point for that because you look at this over this, right? But then if you have a really bold, clean line, that becomes more of a focal point than the sketchy one. So it just, and also depends on the scene that you're in and stuff like that. So it's a very give and take, and it's going to take a bunch of practice and composition work and like playing and thinking about these things for you to get really good at. So don't be discouraged if, just every time that you doodle something, keep in mind, okay, background, middle ground, foreground. Cool. If it's just like a little like sketch of a character, right? And if you're just drawing like a head, think of what those elements are in your face. What's the foreground? Foreground would be the nose because that's the closest thing to to your body. So that's your foreground. What's your middle ground? Your middle ground is your eyes, right? Your eyes, your mouth, and then your background is your ears, because that's behind everything. That's behind your jawbone, behind everything. And then you can go in and be like, okay, cool. Now that I have a head, now how can I add a background element to this? Well, if you just make something smaller behind them, it's going to look like it's behind them. Cool. If you make something big, it's going to look like it's in front of them. Let's, I don't know. What should we draw here? A bunny. The element in the front is darker normally because the light is on this character. Therefore, light tends to be directed from this character onto the other ones because we want to make this the focal point. Now, shadows would go behind this. You wouldn't see this much because you would be seeing a silhouette. And then you can always just tell a story by just making some sort of like background. Little plants, grass, whatever, houses. And then that's how you slowly build the ability to draw better compositions and be better with your spacing and how you fit things into pages. Because one big mistake that we all do is that when we're drawing, we'll draw like a head super big, and then we'll be like, ah, snaps, I ran out of space. I know, I wanted to draw the arm going this way. Right? So we end up having to either tape things together or something like that. Working on composition allows you to slowly but surely be able to map your things in like proper spacing, and you'll be able to think like this much more than like this. So just like you have to practice your drawing and your sketching and your line work and your colors and your perspective and your anatomy, you also have to work on your composition. All these, I know it just sounds like a never-ending stream of shit you got to learn, right? But that's the reason that being an artist is hard. Being an artist is not easy. Like, being an artist is incredibly difficult, and it's just it's seen as an easy profession because people see us having fun with it, right? So if we're having fun, how hard could it be? And that's such a misconception. Like you have no idea how hard we normally work. We just normally have fun doing it, so we're not really all that stressed out and like always like sad and depressed like lawyers or doctors and shit. Compositions don't have to stay within a frame as well. You can break compositions by going outside of your margins. But just like anatomy and just like with perspective and body parts and, you know, if you do not understand the rules, it's going to be really hard for you to break them. Okay? If you do not understand the basic rules of composition, it's going to be really hard for you to break those compositions and make them look good. Oh, this looks kind of weird. Back. I turned the head a little bit too much. Right, so it's just a matter of practice. You got to practice a lot. Like a lot. Focal point. Cool. Now this guy is the focal point of the piece. Right, in this one I want this guy to still be the focal point, so I'm going to darken the grass. Boom. Creating him as a focal point. The color doesn't have to be the focal point. It could be what surrounds the focal point. But just adding a little color enhances things a lot. you can take a little piece and literally just add the light level of contrast to give you the feel that you really wanted to get. Okay, so with that, I think we are going to call it a day for today's lesson. Thank you guys so much for keeping me company. There is ways that you guys can support. There is books for sale. If you guys are interested, we have Coffee Break Doodles, Volume 1. This is a collection of my favorite sketches that I have done over the last 10, 15 years, combined with a little bit of knowledge as well. So we have this as an ebook and a physical copy book. If you guys feel like getting one signed from me, they are in my Instagram link. Now I have pinups as well, but I don't have a preview book for that because that's only an ebook. I have yet to release my cool ladies book printed because I haven't been able to find the printer that I want to get it done in. But I think it's gonna end up being like the ebook right now is 60 pages. When it gets released, it's gonna be like, hopefully it's gonna be like 110 pages combined with like a bunch of like, you know, other things. So anyways, thank you guys so much. Anyone know what kind of sketchbook he uses? I use Illo sketchbooks. If you guys are a subscriber of mine on Instagram, you guys get a discount code for, I believe, 10 to 15% off of a bunch of different sketchbooks too. So your $5 subscription to me on YouTube or Instagram or wherever, let me know you guys subscribe to the paid service, the $5 service, and I'll give you guys your discount code and your goodies and everything. Because you guys get templates and downloads and everything like that as well. I make sure that my people get taken care of. And so anyone that helps me, I'm going to help you guys back. So feel free to go do that if you guys want. Go subscribe to my YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. Every day, 11 in the morning, Pacific time, and catch these on YouTube later if you guys missed them. Okay. Have a wonderful day. Take care. Love you all.